Authors have a lot of things to worry about when they think about marketing and branding and putting their books out there. And they always get confused about the difference between what marketing is and what branding is. So let's dive in and find out exactly what they are so you can take the best use of them so you can sell more books. Hi, I'm Dan Janal. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, and author of more than a dozen books that have been translated to 6 languages. And no matter where you are in the writing process, I can help you write your books. So let's dive right into it. Our guest today is Trae Bohlen, who is an expert on branding. She's a superb photographer, and she gets the best out of her subjects by looking at their brand image and bringing them to life. So, Trae, tell us a little bit about you or yourself and your background in branding, and then we'll dive into some deeper questions.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm really excited to be here. I'm the daughter of two entrepreneurs. And so when I started my own business 14 years ago, I learned a lot about marketing and branding. And I'm very passionate about storytelling. And because I'm passionate about the story, that's where branding comes in, because branding is that foundation for which we market from. And I learned so much about that through different courses that I took. And that's where I really fell in love with helping people to create that beautiful brand image and then to have that intersecting story when they share it.
Cool, great. So tell us, what is the difference between marketing and branding?
Right. Just like I was sharing a little bit, branding is the foundation from which you market from. So people always say, like, okay, get out there and share and pain points and share your solutions. But if you don't know who you are, then how can you be sharing that? So you have to understand who you are and your story first, and then you can create marketing around that story.
Can you give us examples of some of your clients who you've worked with?
Yeah, sure. So I worked with a coach, and he was a dad. He was an engineer. He wanted to coach other dads. He was also a theologian. And he had all these things and all these ideas about what he wanted to do and how he wanted to serve people and how he wanted to make their lives better. But he was really struggling because his messaging was kind of all over the place. Because he didn't have that brand foundation, he was just thinking about all the ways he wanted to help. But when he took a moment and I was able to help coach him through who he is, the experience that he's had, the skills that he has, then we are laying this brand foundation, this story of who he is, where he's coming from, and then we can market. So you can have more clarity when you have that brand established. He is a dad. He's a dad of nine. He's in his 50s. He has this range of experience as a father. Wow, that makes a big difference to me. He was homeschooling his kids. Oh, wow, he must have patience. Different things about his story started to emerge. The more we talked about it, the more I was able to help him understand. You got to share that you've got 9 kids. Please. That is something that's incredible. Anybody can say they're a dad, but you have 9 kids and you've successfully launched 4 of them out into the world. Okay, now I'm really listening. You're homeschooling as well. So you see, the brand story was building more of that authenticity and building connections and also building that trustworthiness and that credibility that he does have things to share because he has an area of experience and expertise.
What I'm hearing you saying is that we can't tell our own brand story ourselves because we don't know our own superpowers and our own abilities. And it takes someone like you to find that out, to dig, to deep, to dig,
Yeah.
to find out what really makes that person tick. Um, how do you align their message and their branding? Because they may come to you with one idea and you might hear something totally different. What happens then?
Yeah, I think that is great because we want to understand who you're trying to serve, who you're trying to reach, and where the intersection point is for who you are and who you're created to be. Sometimes there is an intersection point, sometimes there isn't, and you're going to find that people are going to resonate more with you over the intersection points than they are if there's no intersection point. Does that make sense?
Sure. What questions do you ask someone to find out their brand identity and their true story?
Oh gosh, I really love origins. That's what my podcast is called, Origin Stories. I like to go back to where it all began. What happened? What was the pivot? What was the plot twist? Um, where was there something major or traumatic that happened to you to put you in a place where you're like, okay, now I have to write this book, or now I have to be this coach, or now I'm really going to be the plumber I've always wanted to be? Because there is something that usually is triggering. So sometimes it's a little bit like therapy, but
Hmm.
I think it's really like listening to a friend. I want to really get to know you because if I really know you, then I can help other people get to know you. I really want business relationships, business friends. And then those people are going to resonate and want what you have because of what you're sharing.
Great point. Yeah, that's so important. And I think that really shows the difference between the branding and the marketing, because once you have that brand image down and they know that this is a dad or you're the plumber or this thing happened in your life to make a difference, then you can start building the marketing. Do you get involved in the marketing as well? And can you give us some stories about how you took a brand and built a whole marketing campaign?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you asked me that question. So, excuse me, let me clear my throat a little bit. What I really like to do is, from that perspective of branding, is then build content around the brand story. So then you're going to be using that as your marketing. Of course, you're still going to be sharing ads and different things that are more marketing and advertisement based, but that brand story will be that foundational thing that you're sharing over and over again to build connection, to build community, to build that authority, the thought leadership. You always have to be sharing what your brand is, right? Nike is saying just do it all the time, or maybe they've moved on to a new tagline, but they're always talking about whatever their tagline is, but the way that they share it might be different in the commercial.
Sure. Um, it's obviously you love doing what you're doing. What kinds of clients do you particularly like to work with? Who's in your
Yeah,
sweet spot?
that's a great question. The clients that I really love to work with are the people that have the story, have something inside of them that they want to do, that they want to share with the world, but maybe they don't know how to convey it, or maybe they don't have the time to share it, or maybe they just need a listener to say, "Oh, hey, you are a dad of nine. Let's share that. Oh, you cut your own wood. Let's share that." To see the nuances, like you said, Dan, that maybe you're missing because you're too close to the forest to see the trees. So I love to kind of be that person. And so I'm finding that usually the people that are resonating with me are coaches, are authors, are people that love a story. I'm actually working with a DJ, so that's kind of fun because he is a kind of fun, different story to tell. So it's people that have the stories, but maybe not the time to share or know how to share them.
Cool. Well, you're in a very interesting niche. I'm just curious, how did you get started doing what you're doing?
That's a great question. So, I have been on this entrepreneur journey for a while and had lots of different pivots, and was very successful in sharing my story. And that's how I was able to pivot. So, I was able to kind of step back at one point in my life. It was before the great pandemic. So, 2018, and take a course in personal branding. And what I learned was the things that I have always been doing was personal branding. And I thought, this is fascinating. I'm not famous. I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't have like some major, massive, interesting thing. I'm not a Kardashian. How was I able to gather such a following and have all these successful businesses and really influence people without having something that was flashy and wow? And why I love the personal brand is it proved to me that it was just being me, showing up authentically, sharing my story, being my passionate, charismatic self that resonated with people, and people are drawn to me. And I thought, if I can do this for me, then I can do it for other people too. And so I've been doing it one person at a time, helping people fall in love with who you were created to be. And that gives me so much joy because I love to peel back and show who people really are to the world.
And that comes through so easily. Thank you so much, Trae. This has been a wonderful conversation. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn. Trae Bohlen, LinkedIn. I also have my podcast, which is on YouTube at Trae Bohlen as well. It's called Origin Stories. I love to share the beginning of stories. That's where a lot of cool and interesting things happen and the plot twist. I'm all about the plot twist. So I hope that you'll follow me there and connect with me. Another great way is through email, photographybytrae@gmail.com.
Well, thank you very much for being with us today, Trae, and thanks everyone for listening. We have more than 200 other episodes of Write Your Book in a Flash with Dan Janal on this YouTube channel. Check them out.